How old are you?
33.
And you? 33.
Yes.
Okay. I have the impression that people of your generation were not that much focused, like with your mindset, were not that much focused with housing, because you were much more focused in the idea of, well, okay, I want to carve out the city that I need, that I want right now. I want it immediately. And this was a whole wave of city makers that was engaged in it. You cannot do it very simply with housing. With public spaces, like activating spaces, you can do this. So this is why I think, taking the first sentence that you were talking about, why you avoided that issue, not because you thought that it's unimportant, but that was not the way that you, as very young architects, also struggling to make yourself present in the debate, could make a difference. This is how I interpret looking at similar movements that I know in Brazil and in other countries. What's interesting is that our project, FICA Project, more or less learns, although we are older than you, we are learning from your generation on how to make these immediate changes, like how to produce, like how to cross the boundaries between thinking about the city and producing the city, like, and how can you transform this debate? How can you profit from this, like, urgency feeling, immediacy feeling, and hands-on feeling into such a difficult issue as land and housing? I think we did this step in our project because it was about starting something different here and now, which we started some 3 years ago. And we knew it has to do with land, real estate, housing. We needed money, we started to collect money. And instead of demanding from ourselves immediate results, which would be impossible, we did the exact opposite decisions. It's a long-term project, maybe 100 years, because gentrification processes, they take very long also to happen. But what we took from the younger generation is this attitude. We are doing, we are not just criticizing. And at the beginning we had a purse in which we were pouring money, and we started talking to lawyers. How can we make such an organization that can keep land and that can mobilize it for social purposes? And then we started getting technical advices. In between, we got more supporters. We got a very good donor that donated that flat that you have seen above. And now we have cash to buy the second flat. But it was all very much profiting from the experience of the younger generation of, we want to start it now. We have to have the feeling that we are making it. So that, I think, if you want to go into this housing debate, maybe our experience has something to teach to you. You can learn something from our experience. And it's from the immediate there are immediate results like activation, but it's much more activation of our own bodies, our own mindset. Like, we are working not in the criticism mode, but in the doing mode. But concerning results, we were very relaxed that it will take as much time as it does to show its results. Surprisingly for us, the project is going much quicker than we thought, with much more support, much more visibility, and so on. Then I think I must explain what's our project about. Our project, in 2015, a group of people gathered in order to stop just talking about gentrification and evictions and segregation. We were thinking, we had the feeling that people were running in circles, were not evolving the discussion. In the north, people were for 50 years talking about gentrification, and then we took this very much Anglo-Saxon concept and brought it to our reality. And then we started talking about gentrification about 20 years ago. And every possible externality of capitalism in the territory is interpreted as gentrification. We started to get tired of it. We started to say, okay, we know what's gentrification. We know that's bad. We know also that we know it for a long time, the concept. We cannot, and especially specifically in my case, I am a scholar, I'm a professor. I get paid by the state. In my opinion, I get good salary. I think I cannot betray my society. I have to invent new things and not just, and I'm not paid to repeat things. This is not nice. I feel guilty about it. And together with some people, some of them academics, some of them professionals, not only architects, but people from different fields, we started to talk, okay, what can we do? We use quite a lot of inspiration of Anglo-Saxon community land trusts. Do you know what is this about, community land trusts? Yeah. Okay, this was the first inspiration, and we wanted at the beginning to make a kind of a community land trust in Brazil. It's not that easy because property rights in Brazil and the role of the state is different than from the Anglo-Saxon countries. What we could make is a non-profit, an association, which is people who gather together and they build an institution, which is a non-profit, and this institution can hold land. We can buy land, we can get donations, we can get land like legacies, and so on. If we had the money, we would buy our whole city. So it was very important to us to build a legal framework of an institution that could acquire land. So this was the first challenge. Not the first challenge, the first strategy. And the second strategy that was parallel to this one, we knew we needed money. We needed real estate. And we were collecting money. We were asking people for money. Nowadays we have 80 donors. Some of them donate very little money, like $3 a month, and some of them donate quite a lot of money, like over $100 a month. The organization started to grow in both ways. At first it became a reliable institution that was ready. We got our bylaws, statute, you know what is a bylaw? The regulations approved by the municipality. Then we had a bank account so that we didn't have to hold the money in our personal accounts. We transferred it, and then we made this crowdfunding strategy, so that if you want to donate to us, you can. You just put your credit card number, and so in this sense, the institutional framework was very important. And in the other one, the money itself was also very important. We left when people sometimes think it's ugly to deal with money and to ask for money. It's not nice. We understood if we didn't cross this bridge, if we didn't really de-fetishize the idea of money, we would not go very far away. So money, cash is very important, and not just cash for making our projects like this exhibition, but extra cash that people donate on purpose to buy real estate. Now, 3 years on the project, we have this first apartment, and then we have the money to buy the second apartment. And we are being taken seriously, and this was a big surprise for us as well, because we are so small, but we are like a different social actor in our society. Government likes us. They don't dislike us because, I don't know if you have it in Turkey, the rent vouchers. If people are in need, the government of São Paulo pays them a small amount, for some people that are in emergency situations, a certain amount, so that they can rent a place in the market and don't have to sleep anywhere in the streets and so on. The municipality of São Paulo pays millions of reais for these vouchers. We could buy 1,000 apartments a year with this money. But the money nowadays, these vouchers that people get, which is $100 and something, more or less $100, you cannot find anything in the market. And it's just inflating real estate prices, because at the other side, the landowners, the landlords, they are mean people. They want to squeeze tenants all the time. So if the government pumps more money in it, the rental prices will increase accordingly, so that government sees us and says, okay, this is the social, no matter the party, this is super interesting. Left-wing governments and right-wing governments alike, they understand that this is an important social actor, because if we had 1,000 apartments, we could make more of their money, because then public money would go not into speculative circles, which damage every possible government, not just left-wing governments, and also would also circulate so that we could buy more and more and more apartments. So they understand they would like to make contracts with us. But government is very slow. There's a whole institutional framework that should be built so that they can lend us real estate or do any kind of public policy with us, because we are tiny, we are small, we are new, we are not typified for public policies. There should be more FICAs in the city. We are struggling to create more groups like us, so that there is a kind of competition. If the state has a house and wants a non-profit to run it, if there's just one institution that can take it, it will be accused to be a directed thing, a corrupt deal between the government and ourselves. So we need to have more to circulate, like the best offer or something like this. So government likes us in this sense. It's interesting that we are different from any other social actors. There are, for example, the social movements, which are very powerful, very important, much more important than us, because there are hundreds of families that the scale that they can reach, the scale that's for us is simply impossible nowadays. And but the social movement for housing, they don't do something that we do, which I think it's quite creative, which is a radical separation between property rights and the use of land. Nobody of our association can be a tenant of ourselves. It has to be someone who nobody knows. This separation between property and the tenant is very important for us. You understand it? Yeah? Because if it would be together, it would be very much mixed interests. And cooperatives and social movements and even community land trusts very often have these tensions between, okay, I want to live, and I want to sell my share of this cooperative or of this community land trust. And I was working so that it happened for 20 years. I want to make it even a small profit, and depending of the regulation of the community land trusts, they are not allowed to it. Or not. There are some community land trusts that are very, very much free equity, in which it's kind of real estate investment disguised of something which is more benign, because then you can get back your investment at market price. And so that it was a good solution for you, a person that engaged into a cooperative or something like this, but at a long term, not necessarily leaving a lasting legacy in the city. Our scheme, we understand it as a perpetual scheme that's lasting theoretically forever. If nothing happens with our association, nobody ever will speculate with that small piece of land. Independent of who is living there. No, we buy private. We go to the market and buy it. But the state has lots of land. For example, that whole building, we want to make contracts with the state. Like, the state does not like to make deals with the social movements, but maybe in between we can get the contract, and then catalyst. Exactly, and then we rent to the social movements, for example. This can happen.
Are you buying from the same neighborhoods or anywhere?
We want to buy in downtown São Paulo. It has to be very well located land. But then, now we have money to go for our second apartment. We are looking for the whole downtown, because what we need is to make the best from our money. So there is always someone who wants to sell quickly, who is in debt, and who is up to selling his or her property at lower price because this person is in emergency, so to say, is leaving the country, is leaving the city, is in debt, has split up, has married and wants to get rid of the property, or has inherited the property and is a very wealthy person and doesn't need this piece of property and says, okay, I want to get rid of it. And we go for this kind of situation because it's cheaper and we want to buy the cheap land, real estate as cheap as possible. But we go for the market for it. Because if we would start demanding things from the state, we would go again in the same situation that our civil society and our left-wing criticism is, which is demanding, denouncing, and so on. It's okay to do it. It's really okay. It's very important to do it. But we are doing something different. We wanted to make a framework in which we are not demanding the state things. We are offering, like, we are this society. If you want to cooperate with us, everything is ready for that. So it's a different movement in this sense. And if we also build something which is completely alternative to the state, it gives us slowly more muscle so that in some years we can overtake something about the state, participate in public policy. So this very, very private track is very important for us because we are not dependent upon government. Right now, in which the government, since you probably know about it, but of every level, state, federal level, state and municipal level is getting very, very conservative. We have never been so far, our expectations have never been so far away from what the government is delivering. So that having this parallel track makes us feel very good. This is a very interesting lesson for us, making something which is not dependent on the government. This is very important. Not that we don't want government to be engaged, but that if government is not with us, we have other choices than just being paralyzed and screaming and going protesting and all this stuff. We do this also, of course, but it's not just this. And I, sharing a very personal feeling about it, I am very happy, I am very proud that we did this project because these last 3 years have been politically very, very difficult. But we, in the group, we are always saying, okay, the world is falling apart, but in this very, very small part of the world, we believe in what we are doing. I think we are doing something nice. We are doing something that we can, like, be proud of, and we are doing something which is, like, new and strategic. Here I can feel good in this very, very small scale. This was almost a matter of, like, survival for us. It's super interesting. And I think your generation understands it quite well. Like, I want to believe in what I'm doing, no matter if it's small, no matter if it's ephemeral, but I want to make the city I believe in. We are doing this in that sense. Everything has a price. The price of doing this is not well, you have to pay in patience. You have to be very patient if you want to do it. Because if the state wanted to say, okay, we support it, then we would upscale like this. And of course we want this, but if it's not doing, we cannot be unhappy either, but we have to be patient. Someday it will happen. And it's a very simple model. We can share it with you. I have no doubt that you can make a non-profit that can hold property in the same way. You can set up a crowdfunding in the same way. And our selection process of this family, which is all written in the book, it's very cheap. It's $10 and it's a donation for our institution. So that there we described our selection process, which was a really very long process. And I can also send to you the criteria and so on. And what was very moving is that the effect of the house in the family is unbelievable. Since we always had housing, I'm in the housing discussion, in the housing debate for over 20 years. But I feel that all these 20 years have been a very abstract debate, because when you understand how multi-layered is it to have housing for them, for example, they are saying one of the issues, for example, that the mother was saying, the kids were always sick. They went to the hospital every week because in the house where they were living before, it was moist. It had no ventilation, even no window. They were living in a very, very bad situation. Once they moved, they had this inhalation thing for the kids. And once they moved, they didn't have to use it anymore. So kids' health has improved like in an immediate, or in 1 week or something like this. And then the mother understood she could work, because before that, the daycare would not accept the children when they are sick. She would have to stay home with them, and then she could not work. Now she's relying that the children can be in daycare, and she can take work, like in cleaning twice a week or something like this. So that income has improved as well. And also very, very small details, like they were saying, okay, now Sunday people visit us. We don't have to visit other people anymore. My family comes to visit us. So we are very happy that they have a house where people can visit. For us that have always had this kind of housing in which people could visit, have no idea of how multidimensional housing needs are. And this is also super, super interesting. There was a big discussion about how much would we charge for rent for this family. And the final decision was, people are paying I'll put it in dollars, like $25 a month for sustaining our association, $25 a month for the fund so that we can buy new property, so the tenants are collaborating for the next one, and $25 a month as a reserve so that we maintain the house. If the family needs, we have this fund and we can go there and fix things. So this is one of the, and then there is housekeeping costs, which are costs from the condo. It's a high-rise building, and they charge more or less $80 a month for elevator, for doorman, lighting, and this on. And then the family has to pay it, because we cannot subsidize the family. What we can do is not speculate. Like the money that people pay is the worst business in the world. You don't get your money back. So that we don't have to go into these calculations like mortgages, like interest rates, and so on. But we didn't want to subsidize, because if the person doesn't pay the rent, then our institution has to pay for all these issues. And we would betray our donors if we did it, because the donors are paying us, are giving us money to buy more real estate, not to subsidize this family. That means we cannot, in this moment, we cannot rent the flat for any family. The family has to have a kind of a stable income, which is more or less $600 a month, which is 2 minimum wages. Like 2 people who are regularly working in the lowest wage could make it. So that's it. So it's there are many people that don't have this income, and we understood very quickly that we cannot attend these people, because then we would kind of mimic the state. We would put the family in need in this apartment, and they would need our help, which is a help that we cannot give. So in the selection process, it was very important to be sure that this family was a family that was like functional, that was working, that would be able to pay this rent, but had one specific need, which was housing, which is the biggest housing, the biggest need that people have. You know, so this family was spending like 30 or 40% of 50% of the income in shit housing. So now they are paying less for much better housing. There are lots of architects involved, and once we bought the apartment, in the book it's more or less designed, we changed the layout of the apartment so that we could make it work better from the lightning and sun and wind point of view, but It's a nice project, but it's very simple project. We don't, it's not a terribly innovative project. We made in between a workshop on like innovative furniture because we got a grant, and when the family came, there was this furniture, more or less like this kind of thing. They didn't want it. They gave us back because one, I think they didn't especially liked it. They have more like a bourgeois taste, and it's very easy for us that have access to it to abandon it, but it's not that easy to them. They read it as something like precarious and so on. And in the second, they had the furniture, they had a big television screen, they have refrigerator, they had it. You could find a very old house that can be torn down because it's not especially important in the architecture or a parking lot or so on. But this land is very expensive. So it would be a dream for us to buy land and to build like 6 flats or something like this. But this is really, really expensive. We dream of buying land, but it's very, very expensive. Nowadays, I don't think it's not in our horizons to buy, because when you start searching for land in which you can build a whole building, then you compete with the real estate market. People with money, with access to credit, that make money, that want to sell the houses and so on, and it's quite inaccessible to us, this kind of market. So by now we are thinking about spread out small flats, that we have plenty of them in São Paulo. Okay?
So
That's nice.